Every other animal on Earth gives birth and gets on with it. A horse foal drops to the ground and is standing, walking, running within hours. A chimp gives birth alone in a tree at night, reaches down, guides her baby out face first, and holds it to her chest minutes later. No help, no drama, a system that's worked, unchanged, for millions of years. Then there's us. Human birth takes hours, often a day or more. The baby has to rotate partway through, turning 90 degrees inside the mother, threading a curved passage with millimeters to spare. It comes out facing the wrong way, away from the mother, so she can't even reach down and guide it without risking breaking its neck. And for almost all of human history, doing it alone carried a real chance of killing both mother and child. We are the only animal that routinely needs help to give birth. Every human culture ever studied has people whose job is to attend births, because without them, too many mothers and babies died. So here's the question that should genuinely bother you. Evolution is supposed to optimize. It spent millions of years refining us. Birth is the single most important event for passing on your genes. When it fails, everything stops. So of all the things evolution should have perfected, this is top of the list. And it didn't. It left human birth dangerous, painful, and deadly. Why? The answer is one of the most elegant, unsettling things in all of biology. Because it turns out evolution couldn't fix it. It was trapped. And you are living right now inside that trap. Let's start with the problem. And it comes down to two things pulling in opposite directions. Pressure one, our brains. For millions of years, being smarter won. Bigger, more complex brains meant better tools, better cooperation, better survival. So selection pushed our brains bigger and bigger across our whole history. But a bigger brain needs a bigger skull to hold it. And a bigger skull needs a bigger hole to be born through, which means a wider birth canal, which means a wider pelvis. Simple enough, just widen the pelvis. Problem solved. Except, pressure two, walking. We walk upright on two legs, and that's not free. An efficient walking pelvis has to be a specific shape. Narrow, with the hip joints and muscles arranged just so to keep you balanced over each leg as you stride. The wider you make a pelvis, the more your weight sways side to side with every step, and the more energy every step costs. In a world where you walked miles a day to find food, a wide pelvis was a genuine survival cost. So now look at the trap. A pelvis wide enough for an easy birth is a pelvis that makes you a slow, inefficient, energy-wasting walker. A pelvis built for efficient walking is a pelvis with a birth canal so tight that babies barely fit. Evolution cannot have both. The perfect walking pelvis and the perfect birthing pelvis are physically incompatible shapes. This is called the obstetric dilemma, and it's a tug of war that neither side can win. What we ended up with is a compromise. A pelvis that's a bit bad at walking and a bit bad at birthing, stuck exactly in the uncomfortable middle. But it gets worse, because there's a second trap on top of the first, and this one's about energy. Your brain is the most expensive organ in your body. It burns about 20% of your energy as an adult, and far more when you're a developing infant. A growing fetus's brain is a colossal drain on the mother, and there's a point, around 9 months, where the maths breaks. The baby's brain is growing so fast that the mother physically cannot supply enough energy to keep it developing inside her and keep herself alive. So the baby has to come out. Not because it's finished, because the mother's body can't afford it anymore. And that's the key. Human babies are born unfinished, way too early, by the standard of every other primate. A chimp is born with a brain already 45% of its adult size, able to cling to its mother, grip, hold its own head up. A human baby is born with a brain only 25% of adult size. So undercooked it can't hold its head, can't keep itself warm, can't do a single thing to survive on its own. If human babies were born as developed as chimp babies, they'd have to gestate far longer. But their heads would be far too big to ever fit through the birth canal. And the mother couldn't feed the pregnancy anyway. So both traps slam shut at the same moment. The head hits the size limit of the pelvis, and the energy hits the limit of the mother at roughly the same point. The baby is evicted, tiny and helpless, because staying in any longer is impossible on both counts. This is why a human newborn is the most useless baby in the animal kingdom. And that helplessness rippled out into everything about how ancient humans lived. Picture an ancient mother, 60,000 years ago. She's survived the dangerous birth, but now she's holding an infant that can do nothing for itself, for years, while she also has to recover, find food, and stay alive. One person cannot do all that alone. So the group did it. Grandmothers, sisters, aunts, the whole web of people it took to keep a helpless baby alive. And here's the twist that makes this a genuine feedback loop rather than just a problem. Groups that were good at supporting mothers and helpless babies raised more big-brained children. Those children grew up, had their own big-brained, helpless babies who needed the same support. So the social safety net didn't just cope with the problem. It let the problem keep growing. Because help was available, evolution could keep pushing brains bigger and babies more helpless, and it never got punished for it. The village didn't just raise the child. The village is why the child could have a brain that big in the first place. Now, that rotation I mentioned at the start, this is the part that made birth genuinely lethal. The baby's head enters the pelvis sideways, because that's the widest way in at the top. But the bottom of the pelvis is widest the other way, front to back. So halfway through, the baby's head has to physically twist 90 degrees to get out. Nobody makes it do this. It's forced by the shape of the passage as the baby pushes down. If that twist happens correctly, the baby comes. If it doesn't, if the head jams at the wrong angle, everything stops. The baby is stuck. This is called obstructed labor, and without surgery, it kills both mother and baby. It's still one of the leading causes of death in childbirth worldwide, where surgery isn't available. And for ancient women, there was no surgery, ever. And because the baby comes out facing the mother's back, she can't safely pull it free herself. The angle would bend its spine the wrong way. She needs someone else, positioned behind the emerging baby, to catch it. This is why every human culture invented midwives. Not as a nice tradition, as a survival necessity written into the geometry of our bodies. An experienced woman who'd seen 100 births, who knew the difference between normal labor and a stall that meant death, who could reach in and turn a badly positioned baby, who knew the signs of bleeding out. She was one of the most valuable people in the entire group, and all her knowledge was unwritten, held only in her head, passed hand to hand to the next woman. Lose her, to death, to separation, to disaster. And you didn't just lose a person. You lost the thing standing between the group and mothers dying in childbirth. So the final question. Over millions of years of women dying in labor, why didn't pelvises just get wider? Selection was right there, killing the narrow ones, because wider cost too much everywhere else. Wider pelvis, worse walking, more energy burned every single day. And in a world on the edge of starvation, that killed you too, just slower and less visibly. So the pelvis settled at the only place it could. Not the safest, not the roomiest, just good enough. Good enough to keep the species going, not good enough to stop individual women dying. Evolution doesn't optimize for the safety of the mother. It optimizes for enough babies surviving to continue the line. And human birth clears that bar by the narrowest possible margin, which is the sobering heart of this. That danger you're born from isn't a flaw evolution failed to notice. It's a deliberate compromise it couldn't escape. The unavoidable price of being a creature that both walks upright and thinks. Every human alive is the product of squeezing the biggest possible brain through the smallest possible gap, and it never stopped being dangerous. Ancient women knew this in the only way that mattered. Not the biology, but the reality. They'd buried friends and sisters who went into labor and didn't come out. They knew exactly how thin the margin was, and so they built the one thing evolution couldn't. They built midwifery, knowledge and care, and experienced hands, a safety net made of other people to catch what a broken design kept dropping. Evolution couldn't build a better pelvis, so humans built each other instead.